And welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time in FreeCol in 1.2.0 as the French. And we've definitely got a colony coming along pretty well. We've got 4 cities. We're working on potentially trying to get 2 more. And then we're going to be working mostly, I think, on trying to get the Liberty sort of desire up. So we can be moving towards getting our independence, as well as improving our military. As you can see, our Liberty membership has dropped to 17% because our number of people is growing fairly rapidly. You know, I'll just take the distiller as well. We don't need another fur trader, but we'll take him. The farmer. Take the interesting people. I'll take another couple missionaries. Oh, you don't have a warehouse, so it doesn't make sense to drop out the furs here. Okay. In fact, I'm net producing furs right now, so it probably makes sense to pick the furs up instead of drop them off. There we go. So we had this fisherman coming back to become the fisherman here, but obviously we've got one, so he can keep moving on to the next colony. You finished the docks, that's good. You guys can go work as fishermen, generating more fish. And I don't think I have the Sons of Liberty yet. Oh, I do. I probably have enough that I could run a 7th person. No penalty. Or minimal penalty. Let's check that right now. Yeah. Cotton to pick up. We're slowly filling up on tobacco again. Before we start swapping over to cigars. Yeah, okay, so in which case you're just gonna go. Well, actually, let's check what's the silver up to. Yeah, probably makes sense. Let's check the silver. Oh, this is also the small ship. The small ship doesn't have very much carrying capacity. Fair enough. What could go wrong? And the answer is, there could be absolutely nothing there. That's what could go wrong. Well, certainly you don't have enough. Yeah, you got one rebel. So you probably want to be going out over to there. That one managed to actually get gone by the English before it got there, presumably. Well, apparently they don't necessarily disappear if they're in the fog. Okay. Massive fucking planter. They'd probably actually benefit from a cotton planter. That wouldn't be too bad. So, before having you come back, let's have you get trained into planting cotton. Do the Sons of Liberty to support another one? No. And you're actively not growing in Sons of Liberty, so yeah, don't unload more there. Although we may want to take the opportunity to load some codes. Too much wood in a place, which is not surprising necessarily. think I already learned from these ones already. Yeah. Apparently we could get another expert fur trader upgrade there. Oh. Maybe this just has a cooldown and it's not one and done. Definitely remember those running out before. Is the fisherman still? Or is the fisherman back up? That's maybe a good question. Yeah, the fisherman is back up. We might go for the fisherman over there. The rumor is just that. Nothing but a rumor. Establish missionary. On a mission. So we might actually want to send someone over to become a master tobacco planter before we start harvesting tobacco there again. Move the entire thing. I want to move the silver. Okay, 7 food both places. That's good. So I can either get cotton or tobacco, depending on how I want to do that. I think the answer is tobacco. Yep, I think we'll just build that, and then we'll probably have the lumberjack carpenter move on. have to include stuff in Europe. Whoops-a-daisy. What's the capacity to trade with the guys near us? You do want trade goods, okay, so 100 trade goods is not too bad. 200. Okay, 300 trade goods, yeah. Charlesford has completed its lumber mill. Should make the newspaper Billy built quicker. Okay. Be done in 20 turns. And to be fair, from a food perspective, the hills and the mountains are terrible. So this is about as big as the city's gonna get. Okay. So at this point, we can definitely put you back on making cigars. Top. Wolf. Wickham. Hindsight, it does appear that the lost city rumors do not disappear when they get picked up if they're in the fog of war. And of course, the fog of war, at least in FreeCol, is not super obvious where it is. Okay, so now we can get them going and fishing, which is certainly a much better source of food. Yeah. Charles Ford, load the silver. Activate this so you can go and deliver that off the port. So that can then get loaded onto a ship, and the ship can go out to Europe. Completed building warehouse, completed building lumber mill. My Indian convert got swallowed up by the wilderness? How did that happen before? Guess that's maybe what you get for wondering, having Indian converts wander around the wilderness. Sure, but we actually finished what we were building, which was the warehouse expansion, I believe. So that's probably fine for the moment. Honestly, with what we've been doing here, the only stuff we probably need / want to build, so we're trying to do fur trading, so we want to probably do the fur trader. I mean, if we're going to keep the place, we probably want to stockade. But I don't necessarily need to let keep the canal when we go to war. Right, so maybe I just build the fur trader and call it good. And I can do the settlement when we're ready to start our War of Independence. Cool. Yeah, apparently just have them wandering through the wilderness, they just disappear once in a while. Okay. not furs, I want lumber. Since Liberty is continuing to fall because we're settling too many people. Well, a couple turns away from getting that place upgraded to fortress, which is nice. Bunch of converts. Oops, forgot. Probably the point we want to get back onto fur coat making. That wasn't what I was intending to, but that'll work. Still wasn't what I was intending to, but that'll work. Okay, so we've got another of our founding fathers. We ended up getting the Adam Smith, enabling us to build factories. I take the Francisco here, so we can at least know where Hitler Island is to save us a little bit of exploration time. So complete the fortress here. Makes it a whole lot more defended, and we do have access to factories. So grabbing the cigar factory fairly early on would probably be good. And we're not ore positive here. Oh no, we are a little bit ore positive. So we can do the ironworks. So once this building queue's... I said this the last time, but if we ever get the building queue here done, well, at this point, if we get the building queue here done, we're actually done building here fully. Build a couple wagon trains. And then probably call it good. We'll move the lumberjack carpenter. Yeah, we didn't put them on the thing to do food production. We actually want to make them lumber. There we go. Yeah, we can see them some fighting involving cannons there. Sends the liberties back up to 20%. Okay. These are the places where we wanted to gather cotton. Yeah, could gather it in the prairie there. Would be too out of a plan. I'm not going to do that right now because we don't have the government capacity there to do that. Ship has arrived in Europe. Just as the price to muskets come down, so I can push the price to muskets back up again. I mean, you've got the lumber, so it's now time to turn the lumber into hammers. So we've got 6,639 gold, and we're about to sell all this stuff off. Although a lot of this isn't particularly profitable, right? So 77, 77, 308 is not too bad. 308, although the price just went down. I gave us 509, although the price went down, and 847. Okay. Anyway, so that still got us a nice 2,000 a bit. So from a specialist standpoint, what am I missing? I'm kind of missing the weaver. We may want to be doing some weaving at some point in the near future. Got a distiller, got a tobaccoist, don't have a weaver. So I probably want to pick up a weaver. Otherwise, at this point, I think we're just buying equipment to defend ourselves. Let's buy a couple batches of artillery. And train 2 batches of veteran soldier. And we'll even go ahead and equip those guys as dragoons. And looking at the time, this is probably a good place to put a part break in. If you're watching on YouTube, we will have another part up for you probably by tomorrow, assuming nothing comes up. And I get around to recording the next session as planned. Let's put a quick save in here before I go. Do the Alt tab up to... So this is actually going to be a stream. Save... 1, let's say. So, the upcoming schedule of streams, if you're watching on Twitch, is that tomorrow will be Endless Legend. We're going to start a new run, trying to be a little bit more aggressive than we were last time. Probably either as the cultists or as, I think it's the, like, the necrophage or something. the bug people, and play a very militaristic game where we try to sort of conquer everyone, destroy the world, sort of. Which is kind of the opposite of what we did, which was commerce last time. So that's tomorrow's stream. The day after tomorrow is going to be the return to Terra Invicta, where we're going to try to slowly clear out the aliens out of the rest of the solar system. Monday will be the continuation of Farthest Frontier. I think the first stream went reasonably well, although the parts were longer than I thought they were because the OBS recording timer was lagging. So I thought I was recording like 40-minute long episodes, and I was actually recording like hour-long episodes. So that'll be what we're recording on Monday. I'll have to figure out a different way to time those going forward. And then Tuesday will be when we get back to recording more of FreeCol. We're going to try to at least play through until we get independence here. At this point, I think we've got everything we need to get the economy really going. We basically have access to all 4 of the production chains for export. We have a pretty good... well, we got 2 different places where we're making tools. And in both places, we can make guns as well. So we can basically make ore into tools, tools into guns, so we can make our own guns. We may want to, at some point, put another colony down with the express intent of having that place just be cranking out guns or something. And we could probably get that to work pretty well. Like here would probably be pretty decent. You basically want someplace that's got access to wood and someplace that's got access to ore. And a decent ore source, right? So 4-8. What's the desert over here? 2-4, right? So the hill's twice as good as the desert is as far as ore is concerned. And a little bit of ore out of the plains, but yeah, mostly you want hills. Mountains aren't too bad, but mostly hills. And then obviously if we got an ore deposit on it, that would be even better. So maybe we find a place where we can get a little bit of wood so we can get the place built up with like a gun and a tool factory. Like, other than the fact that the natives aren't going to necessarily appreciate us setting it right next to, that'd probably be a pretty good place for making guns. But that's kind of what we need to do to get equipped to handle independence here, which is what we're working towards in the next stream. I'm going to try to work towards in the next stream. Obviously, as part of independence, we got to get the colonial... the rebels need to get up to 50% across the place. Sons of Liberty need to get up to 50%. I think the only place where we are there is actually the capital right now, or is our original settlement. Okay, so we can see 18 turns to him. Is there a way to check independence? That wasn't the place. Yeah, the military advisor, for example, is going to show us the French Expeditionary Force. So once we've got the Sons of Liberty up to 50%, we then want a force that's strong enough that we feel like we can take whatever the Royal Expeditionary Force is at the time. So we're looking at 18 cannons, 19 Royal Dragoons, and 31 Royal Redcoats. We'll be on the defensive for most of that fighting. And technically, we don't actually have to kill the cannons. I think the cannons surrender if you get rid of all the rest of the troops. Well, actually, the cannons surrender if you get rid of all the rest of the troops, and you've retaken all your cities. So that's one thing the cannons are a little bit prone to doing, is they're really good at fighting into and out of cities. But yeah, so for independence, we need to get Sons of Liberty up to 50%, which actually probably isn't too hard. We just need to stop growing the cities for that. And then we need to build up enough of a military force that we think we can take this on. And probably that's mostly getting a bunch of veteran dragoons. We'd probably be good with like 40 veteran dragoons. Yeah, more cannons wouldn't hurt, because cannons are also pretty good at defending cities. That's one thing where our original city here is really good for, is we've got maximum defenses here, so 200% defense there. As some stuff happens here because stuff is happening. Okay. Okay, let me just reset up the save here. At least this is on stream, so I'm not too worried about losing progress. Yeah, so if you're watching, I hope you've been enjoying. But yeah, that's the upcoming schedule. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously that will be in the past. Because we've just recorded 5 parts. The next stream should be in 4 days, so if everything's gone according to plan, all of that should have happened. So if you want to see the next part and you're watching currently on YouTube, you can probably sneak over to Twitch, where the VODs, after being recorded, should stay up for 14 days. If you're watching on Twitch, I am going to leave the stream up long enough to respond to comments. It does look like there's an ad break currently in process. I did not set this one going. So I'll wait a minute or so after that to respond to comments. If you're watching on YouTube and you've got anything you want to see, I didn't save quite every part. I think I saved every time I took up a long break. So we do have 2 saves I can go back to see things. If there's anything you want to see as far as reports in the game that I haven't shown, feel free to let me know. I can always go and pop into them and show things off. Like, for example, it's showing us all the buildings, it's showing us the yield and stuff, the colonial management stuff. So there's definitely stuff I can show off that I haven't necessarily been showing off. There's the religious advisor. There's a couple churches that otherwise it's mostly travels just providing link 1 across. Silver, that sort of stuff. So with that, I hope everyone's been enjoying. So until next time, I'm going to go ahead and wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part, and bye for now.